we had a girl breakup. I just completely cut them out of my life. I don't talk to them, I don't see them, I don't include them in my life at all.
I didn't know if something that I was gonna say was gonna set them off, or if they were gonna like call me for the next 2 days and blame me for everything that's gone wrong in their lives.
Yeah, that's called a red flag.
And I think it's better to dump the
It was like being married to an angry drunk.
Hey ladies, it's Loesch with Mamalogues.com, coming to you from the floor of my bathroom because it's the only place I can go. Get away from my kids! I want to talk about toxic friendships. I've only known toxic friends by 2 other names. I've known them by as frenemies, or as, let's just be straight about it. I've had a few toxic friendships in my life, and oddly enough, in the past several years, I've had to just cut them out completely. I've had a couple of women who were in my life that I have no idea why they were in my life. They acted like they wanted to be friends, and sometimes they were, but for the most part, they just seemed really, really negative, and it's like they constantly tried to jab me and bring me down. I still don't know where that tolerance came from, but that's what I want to know from you. Like, do you have toxic friendships in your life? Do you have someone who just absolutely makes you miserable? Have you ever had anyone in your life like that? And if so, how did you manage it?
Yes, I've had toxic friendships. And it got to a point, basically, where I had to ask myself, is this friendship causing me more emotional turmoil than it is uplifting me? And if the answer to that question is yes, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to continue having this relationship in my life? And in more than one instance, breaking up with that girl increased the quality of my life significantly. It's just the breaking up part that is really uncomfortable.
Really, I don't have a whole lot of experience with toxic friends in adulthood. And I was trying to figure out why that was. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that I grew up. My dad, for most of his career, worked for an oil company. And so we moved around a lot, usually from my home country, or our home country of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, to here to Texas, to Houston. As a kid, I had a lot of friends who would, friends who would kind of make fun of what I said, or the words I used, or my accent, or how I was dressed, or how I wasn't dressed properly, or whatever. And it was sort of difficult. And so I think sort of as a defense mechanism, I sort of detached. And I think a lot of that has sort of translated to adulthood for me. You know, if I like them, then we become close friends. But if it turns out that there's something somewhat toxic about them, then I just kind of do my little disappearing act.
You know, I avoid conflict. I cannot handle conflict. And in certain situations, especially in toxic friendships, conflict is forced. And I got into some girlfriend relationships where boundaries were crossed, and I was uncomfortable with those boundaries being crossed, and finally had to say, look, I think you and I should see other people, and that we probably shouldn't ever see each other again because you're making my life miserable.
I mean, there were several ways I could have dealt with it, obviously. One of my options that I really considered was to just act as heinous as they were acting, and that way they would have to dump me. I think I wanted to show them a little bit more grace than I think they had shown me in our friendship, so I was just very straightforward with them, and I just said, basically, look, this is just not working, we're not getting along. And I had told them before, previously, several times, that, you know, what you said was kind of harsh, and it hurt my feelings, and anytime I'd ever said any of that, it was just kind of brushed off. I just went with just being straightforward and hoping that I didn't wake up the next morning with a horse head in my bed.
Funny thing, it was much easier to break up with boys that I had dated and slept with. I'd seen their moving parts than it was to break up with girlfriends. And I don't know if it's because boys are much simpler creatures or because I was afraid that the girls might gut me. The girls will hurt you when you break up with them, because breaking up with a girl, breaking up with a friend is so much more complicated than breaking up with a boyfriend.
Yeah, Heather, I totally agree with you. I don't know why that is. But you know, whether or not it's because men are simpler creatures or not, I don't know. For me, I think you know, I'm a pretty sensitive person. I tend, I think, to get my feelings hurt pretty easily, and rightfully or wrongfully, I tend to, I think, ascribe that attribute to all women. And so for that reason, I tend to be more ginger about hurting a woman's feelings than I am with a man. I guess I feel like, you know, they're men, they can handle the truth, I guess. So, you know, a woman can like be really nasty to me, or, you know, be toxic, and I'm a lot more likely to go, you know, oh, okay, so that's how you feel. Okay. But with man, you know, men can pretty much, you know, say something really innocuous like, gosh, you look tired, Karen, or something, and I'm all, oh no, you didn't just say that to me.
When you're breaking up with a boyfriend, there's still that possibility that you could be friends. And it's something that almost everybody, and unless the guy has been a complete jerk, it's something that almost everybody says, well, we'll totally still be friends. We'll still be friends. Completely. We will still be friends. And when you break up with a girlfriend, there's not that possibility. You're basically saying, I cannot stand to be around you so much that we just can't even be friends. No, it's done. So it's definitely more hardcore, and I think the rejection, in some ways, I think the rejection is a little bit deeper.
As a result, I have a lot fewer really close relationships. I mean, there's 1 or 2 or 3 people in my life whom I would call in an emergency, you know? I've got many acquaintances and friends, but it's those really close relationships that I really cherish because I have seen the dark side of friendship. And like Brittany says, it is toxic, gossip, and that's why I blog and I don't sing.
Join the Momversation at momversation.com.